So thanks for joining this morning. For those that don't know me, my name's David Wayne. I'm the National Practice Manager for the Education Sector at Data3. And this morning we're going to cover somewhat of a confronting subject, and one that many of you as leaders in the education space are probably dealing with on a regular basis. Before COVID, we were already dealing with a significant problem around student mental health and wellbeing. But with the increased focus on digital learning, it's becoming more apparent that we need to have strong governance and protection around how digital platforms are used by our students. So today we're going to hear from Bill McCollough. Bill's the Vice President of Gaggle. Gaggle is a Microsoft partner and the largest provider of digital safety solutions in the US, and they protect, I think, over 6 million kids across 1,700 districts. Bill's going to take us through the Gaggle platform, what they're seeing in the US through that platform, and how Gaggle's helping schools support their kids and communities over there. As I said, it's an all teams meeting this morning, so we can facilitate that informal discussion at the end, and we can set up one-on-one sessions if need be. We've currently got the session recording, but if you'd like to have a discussion at the end, we can turn that off as well. So just let us know how you'd like to deal with that. With that, let's get started. Over to you, Bill.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me be part of this. I look forward. I love the partnership that we're having with Data3, and look forward to this discussion. I'm just going to make sure that I have the computer sound on, because we're going to need that for a part of this. We should be good. So I know in America, education is looking a little different. Currently in our country, we have over 70% of our student population remote learning. As I'm sure you have heard, America has not done a good job with coronavirus, and this has caused some problems for us. And so we are not doing the traditional classroom like I heard is being done right now in some of your areas. Most of us are doing an entirely virtual environment. There are some areas of our country that are doing a hybrid model, but even in the hybrid model, over 50% of the students have elected to do schooling remote out of a fear of the virus. What we're seeing as this happens, in March, it hit the United States and schools quickly closed. Our school year ends typically the end of May, middle of June. And so this was a particular problem because schools had to quickly change to distance learning. And the adoption of Microsoft Teams started increasing incredibly. In fact, in February, Microsoft approached us and asked us to create our safety platform for Teams because they were already seeing around the world that more and more schools were needing to use Teams as a collaboration platform for kids, and they wanted to go and make this safe. And so we're seeing that the digital collaboration tools were being more accessible, but the need for safeguarding students, not only during what was the typical school day, but now 24 hours a day as the school day expanded, becoming a huge problem. We had in March and April, after we developed the solution for Microsoft Teams, millions of kids come on this platform with Gaggle and try to do school safely. So we saw this increased use of Google Hangouts as well as Microsoft Teams, especially at night. And this is what we developed for Microsoft Teams. I know the majority of you care about Microsoft Teams versus Google Hangouts. What can we actually look at? We can look at the chat text, images, and files, whether it be a team, whether it be a channel that you set up, or whether it be one-on-one communication. We also have the ability to look at links sent in a chat, images sent in a chat, or files attached to a chat. So no matter what the media is, we are going to be able to go and look at that. The only exception are things like emojis and GIFs. Those only can be reviewed if they're in conjunction with some other alarming content at that time. So the challenge that we're facing in our schools is, how do we keep a pulse on student safety and mental health when these kids are not present in the brick and mortar? We have had cases where we've alerted the school about abuse that's going on at the home that would have been readily apparent if the child was in the school with bruises on their arms and legs. But now that they're in a remote environment, that abuse gets hidden. And we have had many cases where we have alerted the authorities and alerted the schools about kids that are in jeopardy. But this is the biggest problem that we have in the United States right now, and that is the problem of mental health. We have about 50 million kids in K through 12, so it'll give you that first bubble here that says 10 million teens suffer from depression, anxiety, ADHD, or bipolar. That's a huge number. This number is actually, since COVID, went from 1 in 6 to 1 in 5 teens have seriously considered suicide in the past year. And unfortunately, here in the United States, mental health is not really talked about. It has a stigma associated with it. So 70% of the children with a mental health disorder do not receive treatment. These statistics are from our CDC, which has been quite popular now, our Center for Disease Control with coronavirus. The reason why kids are depressed and anxious is our society's getting increasingly complex. This is what goes on every minute of the day out on the internet. And so you see things like Snapchat and users sending 2 million snaps per minute, or Instagram sharing 49,000 photos per minute. Times have gotten extremely stressful, and kids are just getting overwhelmed with information. And this is what they look like. They're just getting flooded with it. And the cause is a rise in anxiety, a rise in depression, a rise in suicide. What we have seen in the US during the pandemic, you see a 79% increase in domestic abuse. This is an extremely sharp rise. As kids are not on campus together, they still want to share pictures. And so we've seen a 21% increase in child pornography. And then we have increased device usage. So it used to be that all the things that Gaggle would find in school districts were really contained to between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Well, that has flipped. And now 55% of situations that we have, these are life-threatening situations, are happening after the hours of 5 o'clock and before 8 o'clock in the morning. And then, of course, I talked a little bit about this 288% increase in chat items as the usage of Hangouts and Teams has just exploded in the United States. So Gaggle's goal is to ensure the safety of all students by combining powerful technology with real people. And I have a quick video here that I'm going to just put you through to go and explain it. And then maybe we can open up maybe with some questions that you may have.
G Suite for Education and Office 365 are powerful learning tools. But they also can be dangerous, like digital playgrounds without fences or recess monitors. Gaggle Safety Management protects your students and helps them become responsible digital citizens. By combining machine learning technology with trained safety experts, Gaggle analyzes and reviews content found in online file storage, inbound and outbound email, attachments, and links to websites. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Gaggle is on the lookout for references to drug and alcohol use, intentions of violence, sexual content, self-harm, hate speech, pornography, and more. To comply with SIPA, the Children's Internet Protection Act, schools must have an internet safety policy that ensures the safety of minors using email, chat rooms, and other forms of electronic communication. In addition, schools must provide security measures to protect students against content that is obscene or pornographic. Gaggle Safety Management provides real-time image analysis that detects pornography and obscene images before they reach students. If pornography appears to depict an underage student, Gaggle notifies a school or district emergency contact. And to protect you from the risks involved in handling child pornography, Gaggle files a report with NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Gaggle Safety Management has your back. Here's how. If a student violates your internet safety policy, they receive warnings for infractions, such as minor profanity, insulting language, or provocative images. For more serious situations, such as incidents of bullying and mentions of drugs or alcohol, Gaggle safety representatives forward the content to school or district contacts for further review. When there's an imminent threat to a student's safety, which can involve self-harm or harm to others, Gaggle notifies a school emergency contact and, when time is of the essence, can even reach out to law enforcement. School and district leaders have access to the Gaggle Safety Management Dashboard for insight into student behavior. Discover which schools and students have the highest number of incidents, the communication tools being used, and how you compare to other schools and districts across the country. The dashboard also helps you decide where to direct digital citizenship resources. With Gaggle Safety Management, you can create a positive school climate and increase student achievement. It's easy to create a safe digital learning environment in only a few minutes. Implementation requires little to no school or district IT resources. Gaggle Safety Management works behind the scenes and can be set up on a short phone call. Make G Suite for Education or Office 365 safe for your students.
Any questions on what was shared in that video?
Yeah, Ian here. Obviously, they've got some connection to US authorities, the pornography one, etc. Is there any thoughts of making arrangements with Australian authorities?
So actually, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children does go and communicate to the Australian authorities as well. I verified that before this meeting. And so we actually go and do that as part of their routine investigation. If we say we saw this in Australia, they communicate with your authorities about it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Great question.
And Ian, just on that, we're also having discussions with Bill around the Safer Technology for Schools initiative, and also having an instance in Australia, which will be important from a data sovereignty perspective as well. That probably covers off a couple of questions that some of you may have.
Right, that's the ACARA project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll keep going then. So the difference between us and other competitors out there is a lot of people throw machine learning algorithms at it and then leave the hard work to the schools. So they will go and either dump a log to their IT department and give them, here's everything we found, go through it. But we actually have trained safety experts who are former counselors, law enforcement officers, people with a heart for children who go and look at this and they determine if there's a threat, what is the severity of the threat, and then work with the school district so that way they can respond immediately and go and prevent a tragedy. That's particularly important in our most extreme cases where seconds and minutes matter. And we want to protect the liability of the school acting on time, but more importantly, we want to save the life of a child. And so what we saw last year amongst the millions of kids, and we're about 6 million kids served right now, we're going to top 7 million early in the winter time, is we saved 927 lives last year working with schools. And that number sounds like marketing speak, but those are verified instances where we alerted a school of a kid who's going to commit suicide, and they contacted us back as follow-up and said, we saved the life that day. So these are verified instances. That number rose from 724 the year before. But then we had 64,000 children who were thinking about suicide. These are people who didn't have a plan in place yet, but there was some suicide ideation going on. And when I say this, this is different from someone doing a play on Romeo and Juliet and talking about suicide. These are kids who are struggling with real issues. They may not have put a plan in place as of yet. 5,600 of those required immediate attention, even though it was just so severe, even though there wasn't a plan in place, that we went and thought they needed immediate attention. And then the one thing we've seen drop in the United States is violence towards others, because nobody's on campus together anymore. But a couple of years ago, school shootings were big in the United States. The year before, of course, 2019, we did have school on grounds, and we had 38,000 references of violence towards others. 1,600 of those where it was immediate, where 300 of them were weapons were on the campus already. And we saved many schools from school shootings by alerting them to guns that were already on campus, because kids started talking, hey, you're going to want to leave, or they saw the gun, things like that, and we were notified. And then the one that's still on the rise is child pornography. As kids use smartphones with high definition cameras, this is getting more and more. The increased usage is just crazy as kids are going and doing this. And the importance of this one is we block those images from being sent. So we run this environment live 24/7, 365. So if I was trying to send an image to Tammy, it would be blocked, and Tammy would never receive that. If Rod was trying to bully me via email or via document, it would be blocked, right? So that's the importance, is we are stopping the kids, the intended targets, from receiving the information. And then we're telling you about it as well. So very powerful. Here is a suicide note from 2019. You can see this was in a document. 76% of the life-saving situations we find are in documents. So you open up a Microsoft Doc and you share it with a couple of kids, and all of a sudden you have an unmoderated chat room. And we see usage of these documents, offers of drugs, offers for sex, talking about things like this. So this is a kid journaling, saying that he's sorry, he's a disgrace, he should have killed himself already, but he chickened out, and he's hoping that this time is going to be different. By the time anyone reads this, I hope to be dead. This would be something that you would be unaware of if it hit you wouldn't see this, but we see it on creation, we see it on revision, and so we're able to see this right away and get a hold of emergency contact right away, which led to this story. Here is the superintendent of Pennsylvania. He sent an email to us on November 20th. The incident happened on November 19th. He sends a note, and under the bold, he saw the firsthand return on his investment, which was this young boy's life. But he admitted when he saw our data in the past, he saw a presentation from 2017, that he thought this was marketing purposes. After the fact of doing this and being personally involved and saving this young man's life, he asked us to go to their campus, and he wanted to go and send a note to people like yourself who would hear about Gaggle.
Sorry, Bill, do you mind just sharing that one again? The audio is not coming through on that video.
Is it not coming through?
Apologies.
Okay, hold on one second. I'll pause it. Thank you for letting me know. The other video, the audio worked, and this one does not?
Yes, correct.
That's weird. All right, let's want to share screen 2. Oh, maybe, hold on. Let me make sure I'm getting the right.
Got to share computer sound, I think.
Yeah, I did it again. I apologize for being unfamiliar. All right, now let's see if this works. Try it again. Let me know if you're going to hear something.
That's great. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
I received a call one evening from my director of security indicating that Gaggle had flagged a document that a student had written. In that document, the student was actually writing a suicide note to his family.
Sharing some pretty exact details of a plan, some goodbyes.
Telling them not to blame themselves for his actions, using words that Gaggle actually noticed as threatening and as concerning.
And it was clear that this was a unique situation and a very serious one.
Within a half an hour, we had police at the student's house. We were in conversation with the student's parents. The student was taken to crisis intervention and hospitalized for the issues that he was dealing with. I'm just thankful that we were made aware, we could intervene, and we could help this child.
The Gaggle program has just been very helpful to us as we look at safety security needs here. But even if it can just help us save one life, then it is well worth the time, energy, and money that it takes to help us keep our students safe.
The school cannot be the sole provider and the sole protector of our students. We truly have to work as a community. I sent an email out to our administrative team the next day saying, we saved a life last night. It's not an email that I've ever sent before in my 16 years as a superintendent, and I hope I never have to send it again. However, I'm reassured knowing that we have this system in place that can help us to help students.
So that was one of the 927 lives that we saved last year. Again, you see some of the other statistics. Almost 3/4 of what we find in the United States revolves around violence of some sort, whether that be either violence towards others, which is in the lightish yellow, or the burnt orange, suicide and self-harm. Again, this is not something that's talked about a lot in the United States. I don't know how much mental health of children is talked about in Australia. I do know from talking with David that it is an issue, and it's something that we see as a global pandemic. I've had many countries approach Gaggle now because of the work we've done in this area, asking about how we can go and help them with situations that they're dealing with, whether it be Canada or Scotland or the Middle East. We're just seeing it all over. Oh, sorry about that. So again, as far as the explicit materials, the important thing is we're going to quarantine those images, so they're not going to be distributed anymore. and then we are going to report them to our government. We have to. That's part of being a part of an internet service provider. We have to go and do those things, and then they will go and give it to your government as well. This is what people are saying about us. So Junction ISD is in Texas, and they talk about the fact that these instances can happen so fast. Gaggle's taken over the responsibility for us and gave me that time back. A lot of folks in the United States, this falls on the IT staff because they think of Microsoft and it's an IT solution, and then IT are responsible for the solution. But if you have a girl who's cutting or have a kid who's distributing pornography, I would imagine that your staff is not trained to go and handle those situations as delicately as they need to be. And we try to work with the school district's emergency response team. So we would create that with the school district and find out who should be handling this. And we can go and divide the workload up. So if it's at one school, we could work with the school contacts. If it goes up to the main statewide system, we could do that as well. And so we have a way of working with very complex response trees. We have accounts in the hundreds of thousands as well. And so we have ones that are similarly sized to you.